What's good? It's your boy Fanon. Yeah, so Tony Bellew stops David Haye. And while I just take a second to rub in the fact that I was invited to a channel on a live stream, participated on a channel live stream with a very good new channel, my man Marlow's Corner, along with Big Mike's Boxing and Trey X. And like I said, Tony Bellew won the fight. And he won the fight for why I thought he was going to win the fight. I thought David Haye was through. And that the ankle sprain or the ankle issue, the major ankle sprain that he had that caused him to get stopped in the last fight was just a byproduct of what the real problem was. And the real problem is age. And with a guy like David Haye, age will really affect him more than an age will affect a guy like Bernard Hopkins. And that's what happened against Tony Bellew, and it went. Now, I didn't say that I thought Tony Bellew would knock him out, but you know, I pretty much knew and didn't have much doubt at all until Tony Bellew was going to win the fight. Now, before I do that, I'm definitely going to do a live stream today, a little bit before the Cecilia Brækhus fight tonight. And by the way, the Cecilia Brækhus fight has another fight that might be worth watching, which is the Gennady Golovkin, Vanis Martirosyan fight. But the reason I'm really excited about that fight is to actually, for the first time, to be able to see Cecilia Brækhus fight real time and not have to wait till the replay. So I hope that you would attend the live stream that we're gonna have. The best way to do that is to hit the bell icon, subscribe and hit the bell icon, and that way you can be notified of when it happens. Because I don't schedule them out ahead of time because I kind of have to do it catch as catch can. So hopefully you'll accept my invitation to attend. And once again, as always, thank you so much for the guys in the super chat that donate to the channel. Was definitely able to make another purchase today to help out some kids related to sports. So that really helps when you guys supporting the super chats, the Venmo, and the Patreon. So thank you guys. So, you know, here's the thing. And also another very interesting thing. Tony Bellew called out Andre Ward after the fight. And I think that would be a real good fight. I would love to see that fight. And honestly, and I don't know who would win it. I lean towards Andre Ward, but I can't say surefire since Tony Bellew has that, 2-inch height advantage or 3-inch height advantage, length advantage. And the fact that Tony Bellew's a dog, man. Tony Bellew's a dog. Who would win that fight if it wound up being a cruiserweight? So, hey, I would definitely like to see that. I know that Tony Bellew don't want no parts of no real heavyweights, right? And he's honest with it. He's like, I'm not about to fight Deontay Wilder, okay? You're not about to get my head knocked clean off my shoulders. And I appreciate that in him, man, But the fact that he beat David Haye, good win for him. Now, but I really do believe, that the problem that we saw with David Haye is kind of the same problem we saw with Roy Jones Jr. David Haye to me always seemed to be a athlete first, and a boxer second. Or primarily like the gifts that he had in the boxing ring, the thing that made him good at cruiserweight and the thing that made him be able to to compete at heavyweight really is his athleticism. And he seemed to me to fall into a Roy Jones Jr. type of situation. Now, Roy Jones Jr., as most people know, man, is one of the best athletes to fight in the last 50 years. You know what I mean? One of the best athletes to fight in the last 50 years. And I say that because, those are the people that I've seen. I've seen some people later on in their career. I'm not 50 years old, but I will say for sure of the professional boxers, he's been the best. He's been one of the best athletes, if not the best athlete as far as athletic ability goes to fight, since 1990, 1988, 1990. So what is that? 88, 98, 2000. 88 to 98 is 10, 20, 30 years. So the last 30 years. And that really was what made Roy Jones Jr. great. Is his athleticism, it's his speed, it's his reflexes. It's the things that he's able to, like, because he had such great reflexes, he could leave his hands down. It didn't matter. He could leave his hands down. He could probably scratch his ankles with his hands down, and you're still not going to hit him because his reflexes are so fast. And what I saw when I was watching this David Haye fight, I was like, look, man, this dude's got his hands down. He's playing around, got his hands stretched out down. My man, you 37 years old, man. He's going to hit you in the head. Like, he's going to hit you because you've slowed down just enough to where you cannot react. You can see it. Like, I have no doubt that David Haye was thinking, I can drop my hands and I can see these slow-ass punches from Tony Bellew coming. And he could see him coming. But the problem was that he couldn't move. The punch is coming, but you can't get out the way. All of a sudden, you're like, oh, snap. I can't, boom, right? And that's what happened to him. Same thing that happened with Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr. lost his athleticism. Now, Roy Jones Jr. lost it a lot more dramatically, a lot quicker, because I think Roy Jones Jr. lost to Antonio Tarver came because of him having put all that muscle on, and then him losing the muscle to come back down to 175 pounds to fight Antonio Tarver, and that just shocking his body like that. And I do believe at the time he was getting close to 30 years old, and that shock, if he wasn't already over 30 years old, but that shock that he put his body through just took a little bit of toll off on him. A little bit of a toll on him. And where he might have slowed himself down a little bit against John Ruiz. But since John Ruiz is a heavyweight and not the fastest heavyweight in the world, it didn't affect him in that fight, right? But when he got back down there in the light heavyweight against Antonio Tarver, hey man, he could see him coming. He couldn't get out of the way, right? He saw him coming, but he couldn't get him. But he couldn't get out of the way, and that's what I saw. And that's what I saw tonight with Tony Bellew. Tony Bellew did not accept or didn't appreciate that he was now slower. And that's just it. That's just it. And by the way, Roy Jones Jr. was 34 at the time he lost to Antonio Tarver. Because he's born in 1970. He's born in 1969. So maybe just about 35 years old. And when you're 35 years old, which is 2 years younger than where David Haye is now, you just don't have the athleticism that you used to have. And that's what I saw with Tony Bellew. Now, the injury, same thing happens. Same thing. When you're 21 years old and you roll your ankle, you can just walk it off. It could be a bad ankle sprain on a 21-year-old, 22-year-old man, and you can just jump up and just walk it off or run it off. When you're 35, 36 years old and you sprain your ankle, it stays sprained. It swells up quick, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa. Your body just doesn't, your mind is better, right, than it was when you were 21, but your body is not responding the way that it was when it was 21. When you were 21. And that's what I saw with David Haye. Nothing more complicated than that. I don't think that a fight like this should affect people's opinion of David Haye as far as how good a fighter David Haye was when you look at his career. Because at this age, his reflexes are gone. And here's the thing, and why I say that it would affect Tony Bellew, would affect David Haye much worse than it would affect somebody like a Bernard Hopkins or somebody like a Floyd Mayweather Jr. It's because they are much more fundamentally sound. And when you're being fundamentally sound, the purpose of having fundamentals is for you to minimize your errors. You want to minimize your exposure. You want to minimize the amount of mistakes that you make. And you want, basically, fundamentals makes up for a lack of athleticism. So somebody that is very fundamentally sound, or somebody like Bernard Hopkins who fights on the inside, fights really in close quarters and really relies on his technique, right? More so, yeah, that's gonna carry him into a older age range, because he's not relying on being fast. He's not relying on being strong. And it will take him up more weight classes, right? Where when you are a smaller guy, a quicker guy, your fundamentals might not carry it's not your power, your strength, and your speed that's going to carry you up multiple weight classes. It's going to be it's how fundamentally sound you are. By that I mean how few a mistake you make. Your punches are coming straight. So it gets from point A to point B quicker because of the way you throw your punch, not necessarily how quick your reflexes are. And that's why I said, and I should have I don't gamble money, but Trey X, my man, and definitely subscribe to my man, to my man Marlo's Corner. You can do it in the super chat. You know what I mean? You can pay me in the super chat for that one. But that is what it is. You know what I mean? It's just a lack. It's a lack of being fundamentally sound by David Haye, and David Haye having relied so much on being a very good athlete, very strong, very fast, like Roy Jones Jr. And honestly, I believe that David Haye, when David Haye was coming up, he probably liked Roy Jones Jr. a lot. And because he fights like Roy Jones Jr. He lets his hand drop straight by his side. And that's probably the way he trained. Because he has speed, he knows he has athleticism. But when he got to that age of 37 years old, against a guy who doesn't fight like that, not like David Haye. I mean, Tony Bellew was a spring chicken. He's 35 years old as well, but he's more technically sound. And when you lose your athleticism, you can take the guy that's more technically sound every day of the week. So if people would say, hey, Deontay Wilder, if Deontay Wilder were to lose his athleticism, right, that could be an issue for Deontay Wilder when he becomes 36, 37 years old. If he loses that speed, if he loses that, but the thing that he's not going to lose his height. He's not going to lose his length. You know what I mean? He's not going to lose his mentality. But if he just would allow himself if he doesn't, the older a guy, yeah, I mean, Deontay Wilder, guys like Deontay Wilder, guys like Zab Judah, guy like, since we're on the UK boxing right now, a guy like Anthony Yarde. If Anthony Yarde doesn't get a little more Andre Ward in him and a little less Roy Jones Jr., he'll be in trouble when he gets to be an older fighter. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be real fun to watch him, while he's at 175, but he's, Anthony Yarde is going to have to move up to cruiserweight. It's going to be real fun to watch him. But as soon as that athleticism goes, and that just a little bit on the reaction time, when you see, and you're in that synapses, whatever you call that makes from when your conscious mind sees something to your hand and body reacts, when that goes from 0.001 second, 0.001 seconds up to 0.005 seconds, hey man, that's a difference between that punch missing and you countering to that punch landing and you flailing at him while you on your way to your backside. And that's what is. I mean, that's it for my man David Haye. But good fight, man. I mean, I appreciate him trying to come out there and do his thing, but that's just it, man. He just doesn't have any more. He needs to step to the side. He needs to go away. I mean, not go away like disrespectfully. I don't mean to disrespect him. I'm just saying it's time for him to, focus on trying to promote Joe Joyce. He's got a Haymaker Promotions. Hey, man, work on that. Get that stuff together. Collect that check. And that's a wrap. Definitely do not get back into the ring with any younger heavyweights. And stay away from guys like, even in the cruiserweight division. Stay away from them. Now, as far as Tony Bellew calling out Andre Ward. I don't know if Andre Ward would be willing to take that fight, because I think they'd have to pay Andre Ward a lot of money to get him to fight Tony Bellew to come out of retirement. Now, he's not been retired that long. I think that he fought, the last time he fought was that in July of last year that he fought? I think he might have fought in July of last year against Kovalev. So let me go to this, and I'm sorry that I'm gonna cover this like do this video like a live stream, but it is what it is, man. Cut me a break, man. Yeah, so the last time he fought was it was in June. June 17th, right? So he's not quite been out of the ring for a year. He's not quite been out of the ring a year. And at a guy who's, over 30 years old, like Andre Ward is, I think Andre Ward is 34 years old, he can still get back out there and fight. So I don't think it's going to be an issue where he wouldn't be ready. He would be. I think he could easily get himself in shape. He's had a longer layoff. He's had longer layoffs than that before. Between the Edwin Rodriguez fight in November. Yeah, so he's actually been off a year and a half before. Between the Edwin Rodriguez fight and the Paul Smith fight, that was just about a year and 7 months. So this isn't even really a long layoff. I mean, Andre Ward has been in longer layoffs than this before. So, I mean, if they offered him enough money, it'd be interesting to see if he would come in there. As far as who could win the fight, like I said, I don't know. I mean, I would favor Andre Ward because I think Andre Ward is I think he's the better fighter. I think he's a lot better fighter than Tony Bellew is. But at the same time, I still think Andre Ward wasn't even a big 168-pounder, right? And let alone a big 175-pounder. And this fight would probably take place at cruiserweight. So, I would lean towards Andre Ward, but I wouldn't say that this is, that type of fight that's an Andre Ward fight win for sure. But Tony Bellew does need to stay out of heavyweight. And if he does go to cruiserweight, I don't see him beating the guys in cruiserweight, man. I don't see him beating, like, the guy that I think is going to come out of the World Boxing Super Series. Yeah, I think Usyk is going to win that, man. I think he's going to, is Usyk or Gassiev? I think that is going to be Usyk. Just on the real. And I don't think that Tony Bellew can beat I don't think Tony Bellew can beat Alexander Usyk, man. And I don't think it's even I don't think that would be a close fight. And I'm sorry, he just beat Marius Briedis, and he's fighting Gassiev. I don't think Tony Bellew will beat Alexander Usyk, and I don't think he would beat Gassiev. And I do think, but if the money is right for Andre Ward, I wouldn't mind seeing Andre Ward coming out of retirement to fight Tony Bellew. And I think Tony that would be the safest bet for Tony Bellew. Is at 35 years old and him being a tweener. And honestly, man, he got knocked out. I can't recall what exactly happened in the fight with my man Adonis Stevenson. But if Tony Bellew lost to Adonis Stevenson. If you lose to Adonis Stevenson at any point in time in your career, and you're not going to beat, more than likely you're not going to beat Usyk. But that's my take on it. No disrespect to Adonis Stevenson. That's just how I see it. But anyway, with that, I'm out. Peace.